Hello students, I'm Sunanda Maini and I'm here to take up question answers of the poem Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. Now this is stanza number 1. Now we will count to 12 and up to arms so much. The possible questions from this stanza can be: name the poem and the poet of the lines. So the name of the poem is Keeping Quiet and the poet is Pablo Neruda. What does the poet want us to prepare for? The poet wants us to prepare for introspection, for giving a pause to our activities and think where we are going, what we are heading for. What should we not do on the earth for a second? On the earth for a second, we should not speak in any language because language creates barriers between men. What should we not do on the earth for a second? Why? Why? I have already told you, because it creates barriers. It discriminates between men and it sets us apart from our own brethren. Explain on the face of the earth. It means that on this earth, if we go back to the stanza, you will look at this. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. It means on this earth we were all born alike. And we have created barriers between ourselves by speaking different languages. So the answer to the line on the face of the earth is: on this earth we were born alike, but we have created barriers among ourselves on the basis of language. Now this is stanza number 2. It would be an exotic moment up to sudden strangeness. So what kind of moment it will be? It would be an exotic moment. How would we all be together? We can all be together when we do not speak in any language. Just keep quiet and meditate. What will happen if there is neither rush nor the running of the engine? What will happen? It would be an exotic, it would be a wonderful moment, because at that time we will feel united. We would be in a position to experience the universality of mankind. What all of us will feel at that moment? We will feel at par with all other men. We will feel that all men are equal and nothing is different about ourselves. We will feel the universal brotherhood. This is the third stanza. From fishermen in the cold sea up to hurt hands. Now, what does the fisherman do in the cold sea? Fishermen catch whales for the protein-hungry world. How would the whales not be harmed? The whales would not be harmed when the fishermen stop their activities. That is, when men stop doing activities which are harmful to our other species and to the mankind himself. How are the hands of the man hurt? The hands of the man are hurt that when he is trying to gather salt, it gives him wounds on his fingers. But he carries on with his activities over the years without realizing what harm he is causing to his own body. Find a word in the passage which means collecting. Let's go back to the passage. Gathering. Gathering means collecting. Now this is the fourth stanza. Those who prepare green wars up to doing nothing. What are the different wars mentioned here? The different wars mentioned here are the green wars, that is war against nature, the chemical wars, and the wars of gases, that is the wars of chemicals and nuclear weapons. Who do prepare such wars? The politicians, the scientists, and the businessmen. They prepare such wars. What is the result of such wars? The result of such wars is that it tends to destroy mankind itself. It is harmful for the man himself. What advice does the poet impart on the war mongers. He advises the war mongers to keep quiet, to put an end to their activities, put on new clothes and walk in the shade with their own brothers. Otherwise, they would have no one to celebrate their victory. This is stanza number 5. What I want should not be confused up to truck with death. Now, what does I stand for in the above lines? I stands for the poet. What is it that should not be confused with total inactivity? When the poet says that he wants them to give a pause, to meditate, that should not be confused with the fact that he wants them to put an end to all activities. So meditation is what should not be confused with inactivity. What is the life about? Life is about doing action, doing something or the other, because we need to do action for our own survival. With whom does the poet not want to deal with? The poet does not want to deal with death. No truck with death. Explain no truck with death. It means that he does not want any association with death. Now, stanza number 6. If we were not so single-minded up to threatening ourselves with death, what will happen if we go on thinking single-minded? If we go on thinking single-mindedly, then we would be accumulating lot of wealth. But in that progress, in that so-called progress, we would be harming Mother Earth and ourselves. A time will come when there would be no resources left, or there would be no fellow men left to celebrate this victory with us. How can we understand ourselves? We can understand ourselves when we just keep quiet, when we pause and we put end to our destructive activities, and we realize that the needs of the soul are more important than the needs of body, which is staying together and feeling at one with other fellow men. In what way can huge silence dispel sadness? A huge silence can dispel sadness because at that time we will not be feeling the differences among ourselves, and we will understand and experience universality of brotherhood. We will feel at par with our fellow men. How shall we be threatening ourselves with death? We shall be threatening ourselves with death if we carry on with our destructive activities. And now, stanza number 7. Perhaps the earth can teach us up to and I will go. The possible questions from stanza 7 can be, what can earth teach us? Earth can teach us that there is life after everything seems to be dead. When everything seems dead, what remains alive? The life or the resurrection part, which brings back to life the old practices, that remains there. Why is the narrator willing to count up to 12? The narrator is willing to count up to 12 because he wants people to meditate and think inwardly, introspect what they have been doing so far. Trace the word that means living. So if we look at this stanza, alive is the word that means living. Now let's discuss the textual questions. What will counting up to 12 and keeping still help us achieve? Counting up to 12 and keeping still will help us to achieve a kind of understanding or happiness that mankind will experience by putting a pause to his activities and feeling the universality of mankind. He will feel the universal brotherhood. Do you think Pablo Neruda advocates total inactivity and death? No, he does not advocate inactivity or death. All he wants is a short pause to think and rethink what we have been doing. What is the sadness that the poet refers to in the poem? The sadness that he refers to is about not understanding ourselves and feeling separated from one's fellow beings. What symbol from the nature does the poet involves to say that there be life under apparent stillness? The poet involves the symbol of Mother Earth to bring home the point that there can be life under apparent stillness. What does the title of the poem suggest to you? The title of the poem suggests us to keep quiet, to introspect, to think what we have been doing and is it really progressive or not. What do you think is the poem about? The poem is all about pausing our activities, giving a pause to our destructive activities, otherwise mankind will become extinct on this earth. The poet advocates introspection and satisfying the inner needs of oneself. And that's all about the questions. I have discussed the textual questions and the possible questions that can be asked from the stanzas. I hope you have understood, students. Thank you so much, and we will be back with the next video very soon.